Finally, finally, after all these years, a movie that tells us what we already know. Clowns have never been funny.
Send in the clown.
Basically, going into this movie, my expectations were that it was going to be a masterpiece just because that's pretty much how they've been promoting it. Every review from Toronto had said that this movie was a masterpiece and it was going to win Academy Awards, Oscars for performance and for just like directorial vision, I guess. And yeah, man. So my expectations for this film were that it was going to live up to that hype. And actually, this probably would have been a cool review too if it didn't. But I'm just gonna have to like spoil it for you. The movie was incredible. It's pretty much just amazing, and I'm just gonna talk about some parts that I just really loved and touches that they put on it, and why I think it's amazing. So yeah, got to see this movie. Went to go see it with my dad. At first, my dad didn't really seem interested by it, and then he saw the trailer in Spanish, and I guess that kind of got him excited because he felt like he related to it. He felt it was an underdog story. He goes, a short man, bald headed, old. He's like, I think I relate to this. I'm like, I don't know which trailer he saw, but definitely he found some sort of empathy for the Joker. And he says, you know what? I want to see it. Now, my dad doesn't really like these type of movies. I took him to see Avengers Endgame, and he hadn't seen none of the ones before it, and he liked it. But at the end of the day, it was Endgame, and it's just a masterpiece of wow. So yeah, Joker is a completely different thing, completely different tone. This film feels like something a lot more indie. It doesn't feel like your typical mainstream movie. And I think that's great. And that's why I want to bring in that I feel like right now we're in a new era. We're in the era of the indie blockbuster. No more of those days of like the Jaws and the Star Wars, like all these big epic movies that come out every single year that we're just like totally let down by. We're not doing that no more. Now it's time for the indies to come out, the more like silent, dramatic, avant-garde, like artistic, like performance-driven films. Like that's where we're at right now, and that's dope. Like it's great that we're here. The indie market is taking over. Films have been influenced by TV shows, and now we want that character drama. Like we want to really, live in the character. We want something that relates to the times. So yeah, one reason why I feel like this film is going to be heavy in the Oscars and in the contention is that it's very topical. It's very timely. I would have to say that this movie is probably the most timely movie I've seen since Get Out. When Get Out dropped, it was right after Trump's election. The racial tension in the country was extremely high. So having a movie dealing with race and body swapping and just sort of like covert racism was like so topical that it just resonated and just made you feel scared. And this movie as well makes you feel scared, not only with the actual film itself, but the hype surrounding the film and sort of these threats about violence or maybe shootings and everything. I was scared. There was definitely about maybe 6 or 7 times during watching this movie that somebody got up and walked, and they walked really creepy like. And I was like, bro, he about to go get the strap. And I was pretty scared, but yeah, I was like, I really want to see this movie though. So I continued on and I watched the film, and it just added to tension, a lot of tension in this film. One thing that surprised me about this film is just straight up the violence, man. Like they paced it out in a way where it didn't feel overly gory, like it didn't feel like a Tarantino film from the jump. But when it got to the violence, it catches you off guard, and you're like, wow. And that's something that's hard to do nowadays. Like some films are just straight up violence the entire film, and it sort of dilutes it a little bit. Whereas this one, it built to it in a way that felt very organic and natural. And that's something that I think is going to be said about this film, is that this film was very natural, very organic, very authentic. And from the trailer, you could get that vibe that they was really in the streets and they were really like making this film, crafting it like it was any sort of drama or any sort of like character driven piece. But yeah, I didn't see any shots in this film that felt fake or CGI or like a set. Everything felt very organic, and for that I think it just immersed me so much. Even seeing him getting hit by cars like throughout or getting beat up, like it did feel like something real. If it didn't feel like something that was staged, and for that, woo, this movie's great, man. Some of the topics that I think that were very important and timely in this movie are one of domestic terrorism, radicalizing people, and mental illness. Obviously, that's been a big thing. But yeah, mental illness, the radicalization of domestic terrorism, and also politically incorrect comedy. That's been a huge thing with Chappelle's last stand up and Bill Burr's. Like we've been really talking about this politically incorrect comedy. What's funny, what's not funny, what's pushing the line, what can be joked on, things like that. And it's just great to see it in this movie be challenged. Definitely Joaquin Phoenix, he really pushes his character to like a new length. I made a video about a month ago, and the funny thing was I made that video thinking, yeah, I'm going out on a limb. I'm gonna just call it like Joaquin Phoenix is gonna be the best Joker. And then a day later was like the TIFF premiere, and people got to see the movie and basically said he was the best Joker. So my opinion really didn't matter anymore. And I had to wait another month in order to actually watch it and give my real final opinion. But definitely Joaquin Phoenix is the best Joker by far. He has an advantage that this is a origin film, but either way, it's like his performance is just so nuanced, and he really like seeks to flesh out this character, and that's something that the writers do with this film too. They really dissect like what makes somebody the Joker, like what are the things that can make this person the Joker, from the laughing disease, the childhood. Something I forgot to say was that Joker had the same origin story as Eminem, and that's cool, man. They were definitely trying to reach white people with this one. From being a stand-up comedian, being interpreted the wrong way, not being funny, just having so many real life situations put him into a position where he turns into this person is just something that really grounded it. And I feel like in the other films, when it came to Heath Ledger, he told three different sort of origin stories that kind of show how he could have got the scars on his face. This one was a lot more feasible. This one felt a lot more real, and for that, yeah, best Joker, bro. Best Joker, that's it. And yeah, I don't think any of the other Jokers lost weight. I think maybe Jack Nicholson put on weight, but nah. Like, so yeah. So, something I thought was cool was the introduction of the Batman. So, going into this film, I really didn't expect too much about Batman, being that this is a period piece, and also just that I felt like they were really trying to distance themselves from the comic booky type scenario. So, expected it to be a Joker film, maybe a little bit of Thomas Wayne. But yeah, I really like the way they integrated it. For a moment, I thought, oh, are they going with this? Are they really gonna make Joker Batman's brother? I was pretty hyped. I went and I whispered to my dad, they've never done this before. Like I was like, wow, like this is crazy. And yeah, as it concluded, it seems that he really isn't Batman's brother. But what leads him to find that out actually is what drives him even more crazy. And I like that they played with it, because I think throughout the entire series of Batman, there's always been this sort of bond between Joker and the Batman. I think in one of the animated films, it was something where Batman hadn't really been being Batman for a while, where Batman hadn't really been operational for a while, and neither was the Joker. And it was sort of a thing that when one came back, the other one sort of came back. So it felt like there was always some sort of bond between them, sort of like a Goku and every single one of his enemies bond, where it's like if one's out there, the other one will come after them to challenge them. And yeah, very yin and yang. So I like the way they played with it. Ultimately, the bond that is established between Joker and Thomas Wayne leads to Thomas Wayne's demise, which is just great. We've seen this origin story of Batman like 12 times or something. Like, so definitely we're familiar with what Batman is and how he became Batman. This just adds so much weight to it where we don't really have to spend so much time on it, but we know what they're setting up, and it's just so effective. Definitely, it felt like whatever time they took into writing this or preparing this was well spent, and it allowed for a story that is just immersive, and you just never really fall out of it. Like, it's good all the way through. And yeah, that's that. One reason why I think that this film is really important is that it's really a sign of our times, and it's crazy that to come right now in 2019. We're a few months away from the end of the decade, and I feel like last decade, Dark Knight sort of symbolized some of the issues we had with privacy, like with the Patriot Act, and sort of tapping into people's mobile devices to find the Joker. With this one, it's a lot more discussing of the idea of radical terrorism, and just basically the way that we create monsters within this country through just different means. And in a lot of ways, this movie just summed up so many of the issues that have been going on in the last 10 years, the latter half of the last 10 years. And yeah, like, it hit on point. For that, I think it's really going to be an Oscar contender, because usually I feel like the Oscar goes to whatever sort of social political issue is like super topical at the moment. And this one does it. Even though it happens to be a Joker movie, it still holds more weight than probably any story in the last few years, as far as just discussing some of the controversial issues of political correctness and mental illness and domestic terrorism. So yeah, with that, I see no reason why this shouldn't win the Oscar for best film. The direction of it was great. They gave a lot of time for Joaquin Phoenix's performance to really just be established, and then when we got into the moments, we got to see him dance and just really be expressive, and we fell for him. And that's good. Some people feel like maybe it's bad to sort of empathize with somebody like this, but that's good, man. Like, that's an effective movie when you can empathize with the main character. So yeah, maybe grow up and just be an adult and realize that it's a movie, and it's illegal even in the movie to do the things he's doing, and no sane person is going to try to do these things regardless to what they're pushed to. This is a man who had a turbulent childhood and a few other issues, and he became the Joker. So that's the story of the Joker. Doesn't have to be your story. I'm not afraid about becoming the Joker, because I'm a sane person, and because I would be Two-Face. When Thomas Wayne labels the murderer of the three men in the train a clown, and says that anybody that would do that is a clown, it really, it brings back vibes of maybe a Trump or like a Hillary with the super predator, or with just the name calling of the what did he call the Mexicans, like rapists and stuff. Like, so it really brings back a vibe which still really it doesn't lean too far right or left, which is really great for this film, because as the Joker says, he has no political stance, and he's not fighting for any sort of ideal. He's just speaking his truth. And it's interesting because where the movie cuts off, we don't get into sort of the politics of other voices or people trying to speak for him, which would have been a corny idea. We just get into what made this person crazy and what formed that person. So that's great. I like where it started and I like where it ended. And for that, I just say that this movie is perfect, man. 10 out of 10. Usually when I rate these movies, I just base it on what the expectation for this film is and how well they sort of pull off what I think they were going for. And for that, I think they killed it. Like, they made a gritty period piece about the Joker that establishes some real reality behind this villain. Something that has been really difficult throughout these DC or Marvel movies sometimes is establishing a villain that feels credible, like somebody who we can actually understand their theology. And the Joker was one where in Dark Knight we really rooted for him. I feel like Bane we didn't really, Ultron we didn't really, Thanos we kind of did. But yeah, this Joker is like every man. And if my dad, who for some reason considers himself a little person, can watch the Joker and empathize with him, which is a completely different person, then I think most people will. One funny thing was, for some reason, my dad is not that short, but he thinks he's a midget. So, like seeing the seeing the little guy and the little comedy that's played out through him, my dad looked at me and he was like he felt it. So yeah, I feel like when it came to the little man and his trials and tribulations throughout the film, I feel like it was played sarcastically for comedy, like, oh, like this guy's life is depressing, but this other guy who actually has like a physical ailment, like you'll laugh at that. And I think it really just brings back the theme of like what Joker's telling Robert De Niro is that, look, man, who are you to say what's funny and what's not? Like, comedy is subjective, which I think is the most important theme in this film, is that comedy is subjective, and it nails it in. It does everything I would expect from the film, and then it reaches a little bit to do more. And the speeches in it did not feel over the top or too pretentious or preachy. They actually just felt necessary. Like, I was like, wow, I'm happy that it has this moment in here, because if it didn't have this moment, then I probably would have left a little underwhelmed. But no, I had to say it checked every single box for me. And for that, like, the Joker is the Joker, man. Like, Joaquin Phoenix is the Joker. So Rob Pattinson, Twilight guy, supposed to play Batman. And there was a little article that was put out there where some line was redacted about his comments on the Joker. Now, Rob Pattinson, Joaquin Phoenix, that'd be amazing. I would love to see that, especially with this tone. Todd Phillips did a really great job directing this film. I have to say it's his best film yet. I love what he did. He just simply let the actors act, let the story tell the story, and it looked great. And yeah, it didn't feel like his vision was overpowering. It just felt like he allowed the story to tell itself, and that's what a great director does when they have great material and great performers. So yeah, with that, he killed that. So yeah, Joaquin Phoenix is the new Rob De Niro. I felt the symbolism. I felt really good about it. When he shot De Niro in the head, it just felt like, I actually felt good about it, man. Like, I felt empowered. Like, bro, I remember seeing Taxi Driver and seeing Robert De Niro be that character, and to see it come full circle, actually, it felt great. Like, it felt like he was sort of like handing down the torch to Joaquin Phoenix. Like, bro, you do this, man. And I love how defensive Robert De Niro has been towards this movie, just saying like, get over it, bro. It's a movie, and it feels like something that he's so accustomed to from playing all these sort of villains throughout the movies, mafiosos, or just playing these characters. Like, Rob De Niro knows that a movie is a movie. People will do whatever they want with that movie, but it's not his responsibility or anybody's. They just need to tell a good story. I felt like the creators of this film took their responsibility very well. I felt like it was weighted on both sides. It's not something I feel is going to incite a riot, but if it happens, it's just because the movie was really good. And yeah, that's a compliment to the film. And whatever, like, you can't incite a riot when there's no truth there. So if there is truth there, then maybe there does need to be some change in the world. And yeah, this is kind of controversial. So yeah, let's wrap it up right there. I'm going to give the Joker a 10 out of 10. Actually, I'm going to give it 11 out of 10, because I went into the movie expecting a 10 out of 10, and it surprised me with some extra stuff. So I'm going to give it 11 out of 10. That might sound ridiculous to some of you, but I think I explained why. So that's good enough. That's good enough for you. Get over it. Comedy subjective. Yeah, that's it. If there's any other films that you would like me to rate or you felt differently about the movie, make sure to make your voice heard. That's the great part about today, is that we can make our voices heard and have conflicting opinions, but still like and subscribe to my channel. And that's the best part of the whole thing, is that y'all can still subscribe even if you disagree with me, and that's dope. And yeah, stay posted to the channel. More content, more reviews, more types of things coming soon. And yeah, the Joker.